Welcome to the Synopsis. In this series, we bring you books in brief, short summaries of the greatest books of our time that you've always wanted to read. In the next few minutes, we'll discuss what makes these books so influential.
Hi there, you're catching me, Ahalya, on Synopsis, and I'm armed with another engaging summary of another wildly popular and helpful book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, written by Dale Carnegie. Now, Carnegie was an American writer and the developer of courses in self-improvement and interpersonal skills. The book in question today, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was released in 1936 and has influenced generations of people ever since, making it his most popular project. What makes this book special is that Carnegie discusses practical techniques that will help anyone become a more likable, persuasive, and effective person as well as leader. I don't think we have too much time to waste because this is something that we're all concerned with. So let's just dive right into his insights. One of the first rules that Carnegie touches upon is this: do not criticize others. If you want others to like you, don't criticize them. For instance, animals learn more effectively when rewarded for good behavior than through punishment for bad behavior. Carnegie said this applies to people as well, because we're driven more by emotion than reason. People get defensive and feel attacked when they are criticized, and some will also fight back. That's why many successful people never openly criticize others. During the American Civil War, Abraham Lincoln told those who spoke harshly of Southerners, "Don't criticize them. They are just what we would be under similar circumstances." Now, surprisingly for a book with such a weighty title, Carnegie's advice is often quite kind. Another idea that he emphasizes is to be appreciative. Treat others as you would like others to treat you. Yes, it's a cliche and it's something we've heard over and over and over again, but how many of us really apply it to our lives? One of the strongest drivers of human behavior is the desire for appreciation. So show your appreciation frequently and make others feel important. The desire for approval and praise drives people to accomplish impossible tasks. Even using simple phrases like thank you and I'm sorry can work wonders. Offer sincere praise to make people feel good about themselves. The key word here is sincere. And just as appreciation can work wonders, well, a smile can work wonders too. Carnegie says that to make yourself instantly likable, just show people that you're happy to see them by smiling. People will generally reciprocate. Psychologists discovered that consciously smiling can lead to positive emotions, just as positive emotions can lead to smiling. If smiling often doesn't feel natural, maybe just try whistling or singing or humming a song to lift your mood. Carnegie says, go ahead and fake cheerfulness till you begin to genuinely feel happier, because it really does happen. The fourth thumb rule of how to win friends and influence people is to remember names, because remembering names is awesome. And once again, it's a cliche we've heard before. A person's name is the sweetest sound they know. So by that logic, remembering names can take you very far. Theodore Roosevelt, who was president of the United States from 1901 to 1909, was popular among his staff because he greeted all of them by their names, remembering conversations and showing appreciation. Carnegie suggests that you must catch the name of a person when it comes up the first time. Ask for it to be repeated or even spelled out if needed. Then repeat it back to the person a few times to form the association in your brain. You can also write it down to commit it to memory. Next, Carnegie touches upon the philosophy, listen more and talk less. Dale Carnegie claims that an interesting person is one who is genuinely interested in others. He explains that humans love talking about themselves, so if you want to be more likable and interesting, stop talking and just listen. During conversations, most people are preoccupied with their own thoughts and responses, so they barely listen, something that I think we're all a little bit guilty of, right? Therefore, listening is a conscious effort to give the other person your full attention. And those who do this well achieve their goals quicker. On the other hand, talking about yourself a lot, failing to listen to others, and constantly interrupting them signals that you are self-centered. So listen intently, ask questions, and you will form deep connections with others. And as an extension of that thought arrives the next thumb rule. Other perspectives are important. When you go fishing, you don't bait the hook with what you like, but what the fish would like to eat. Similarly, if you want someone to do something, think from their perspective. Become knowledgeable about the things that are important to others. This approach works at all levels of society. Teddy Roosevelt always made it a point to thoroughly prepare for any meeting by reading everything about the other person's interests. Similarly, Benjamin Disraeli, a celebrated British Prime Minister in the 1860s and 1870s, said, "Talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours." Very wise words. Now, this next idea is uncommon and not easy to execute. Avoid arguments. When you win an argument, you hurt the other person. So they withhold what matters to you the most and they stick to their guns more firmly. Therefore, avoid disputes. Think of a disagreement as something positive that gives you a new perspective. Avoid knee-jerk reactions and keep your temper in check. We need to listen without resistance, carefully examine the other point of view, and try to find areas where we can agree. This reduces the other person's defensiveness. Also, remember to thank the other person for their perspective and leave it open for future discussions on the subject. I'm telling you, this book is just riddled with real-life experience and context because the next point that Dale Carnegie touches upon is one that I think we all are subconsciously aware of but continue doing anyway, telling people that they're wrong. But Carnegie says, don't do it. If you tell someone they're wrong, they will resent you. When Benjamin Franklin was young, he was opinionated and combative. One day, he became aware that he was losing friends because of this. So he changed himself. He stopped being openly critical. He stopped using rigid words like certainly and undoubtedly and replaced them with phrases like, I imagine. Carnegie points out that whenever we tell someone they're wrong, we're essentially saying, I'm smarter than you. You end up attacking their self-esteem. So he asks that we avoid absolute terms like, it's clear that, or obviously the case is. The idea is to avoid implying that you're smarter than them. Use more humble and open-minded responses like, I thought differently, but I might be wrong, so let's examine the facts again together. This way, the other person is less likely to resist or resent you, and an opponent may even become an ally. And speaking of calling people out for when they're wrong, why don't we also go ahead and point that finger to ourselves? When you're wrong, admit it, says Carnegie. Whenever you make a mistake, do not wait for someone else to point out the mistake or to call you out. Own up. Admit your mistake. This willingness to own mistakes gives you control of the situation, an opportunity to change the situation to your benefit, and will produce better results than having to defend yourself. The next idea that Carnegie emphasizes is to be convincing, one has to be friendly. A friendly demeanor can make people change their minds much more effectively than anger. So whatever you're trying to accomplish, make sure you start in a friendly manner. Another important persuasion technique is getting people to say yes right from the start. Begin by emphasizing all the points on which you agree with the other person and ask questions that get them to say yes a lot. It's kind of like building momentum. It will be hard for them to reverse course after all of those yeses. Conversely, avoid getting the other person to say no because they will be reluctant to take back the no once they've said it. So the next time you feel like telling someone they're wrong, start in a friendly way. Start with a gentle question that will get them to say yes. And finally, there's the idea of change. Influence carries with it some connotation of change, right? So Carnegie says to change others, one must start with praise. He says, just like we use shaving cream to make it easier to shave our face, it is easier for us to hear unpleasant things after receiving praise. So remember this whenever you wish for someone to change. And don't stop at the initial praise. Encourage every positive improvement, no matter how small, to motivate them to make further changes. People give up or slow down due to criticism, but bloom with encouragement. So be generous in praise. In summary, how to win friends and influence people is about winning people over. It is far more important to influence people positively rather than negatively. And how do we do that? Well, we must smile freely, listen intently, remember names, show genuine appreciation, talk about the things that matter to people, avoid arguments, and avoid criticism. People are more willing to change if we encourage and appreciate their progress rather than dismiss their attitude. And remember to be appreciative of different perspectives. So here we are, ready to influence people and make friends with Dale Carnegie's expert insights. And a wrap on another summary with me, Ahalya, on Synopsis.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Synopsis, powered by Timber Media.